Oh, you're fine. Go ahead.
She covered like 40 years.
Your
of
accent.
accents.
You covered a tremendous amount of ground in just a few sentences. Something about a boiler water.
Well, I worked in a plant and there was an explosion and I was burned with hot water and they took me in the,
When was this?
that was in 1950.
So
And they
before-
took me.
Before you came to America.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
That
before
was
I
in,
came to
that was in
America.
Austria.
And they took me in the hospital, in the small hospital, and there were nuns. And I see my mother, they took me in and my mother stands behind me and I say, "Oh, Mother Tamara, come home." So the nuns, they took all the clothes off for me and they took sheets and put some ointment on and rubbed me in the sheets. And one nun said to the other, "Shouldn't we do a better job?" So the other nun said, "Tomorrow morning she's dead." And I heard it. But I didn't die. And my father died. And the doctor, the next town where I grew up was a principal. And my father was very, very friendly with him. And the doctor, we all went to, before my father had his operation, we went to have our blood tested in case my father need blood. And the doctor's name was Popovich. And my father said, "Oh, I have a friend in the next town. His name is Popovich. You could be his son." And his nurse was there. He said, "Mr. Richter, I'm not that friend of your son's," he said. So his nurse went out, and my father went after her and said, "Mr. Richter, come back." He said, "I am your friend's son, but don't tell nobody. I studied in Vienna. Nobody knows that I'm from Yugoslavia. I will take good care of you. My wife will operate you. She's a doctor too." So he went, he operated on my father, and then when he went in vacation, he said, "When I come back, I see you." But my father died in the meantime. So 2 years later, 4 years later, I came in the same hospital. And
That's when she was burned with a thing, with a sting.
Dr. Popovich said to my mother, "I couldn't save your husband, but I will do my best to do and save your daughter." So from the plant where I worked, 3 days after, they came with an ambulance and wanted to put me in a burn station in a bigger hospital. And the doctor said, "No, you're not going to take that girl any place. She will not make the trip." And they said they're going to call the police. They said, "You can call anybody you want. I'm the head doctor. And I will refuse to let that girl be taken. I will take care of her." And then there was one day, so he said to my mother, "The days will be the thing,
Crucial day.
the crucial night. When she makes it tonight, we have won." And my mother was sitting on her bed, and my father always said to us, "Oh, when I die, I give you Zeichen.
A signal.
I give you a signal. And I saw my father. He was dead already. He said to me, come. And I've made a few steps. And he said, come. I said, Father, I can't come. I have to go back to Mother. And my brother Tony, that we don't know where he is, he was standing next to him. And then I woke up. So my mother said, what did you see? I said, why are you asking me? She said, just tell me what you saw. And I told her. She said, you said every word out loud. And from then on, I got better. And after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, I left the hospital.
Do you still have any scarring from that?
No, they all gone.
But at the same time, when she was in
Oh,
the
yes.
hospital, the whole town prayed for her, and the doctor said it's a miracle that she survived. So the whole town was praying for her, and when my father was in the hospital when he got his
Can you
operation,
tell me about that?
I told you before, but I'll tell you now.
Sure.
And he was going into the hospital, and he stood in the kitchen before he went, and he says, I'm not coming in this house alive. I says, Dad, Father, you're gonna come back. I says, my girlfriend from school, her father had the same operation, and he's fine, you're gonna make it too. And he went in the hospital, and my mother stayed with him for quite a few days, and then the doctor told her, Mrs. Richter, you better go home, you need some rest. And then Tante Leni, my sister Lena, Magdalena, she went in there and she stayed with my father. And then the doctors came through and, check them all out, and they said, oh, Mr. Richter, you're gonna go home the next day, everything is fine. Nurse came in, gave him a shot, 10 minutes later he was dead. And they gave him, the nurse was ready to go off duty. She was hurrying, and when she gave him the shot, she was too fast, and it gave a bubble in the bloodstream, and that what killed him.
Was
So-
there any repercussions
No,
or
there was no
apologies or
repercussion,
anything?
nothing. There was in '48 in Austria, and we were homeless people, refugee people. They didn't care about it. There was nothing. There was no thing that you could sue or anything. It was done.
So you mentioned how you came here. What did you do in between